All right, welcome back. Just before I get into this video, I just want to remind everyone that we do have a channel Discord server. If you're at all curious about joining a community where we talk all things DPC, whether that be match discussion, region discussion, player discussion, all sorts of stuff like that, stats and whatnot, feel free to join that link in the description down below. And another thing I will add is this is one of the first times I'm doing a video in this format. So I apologize if the audio is a little bit shoddy. I will try to improve upon it a little bit more if I do end up making more content like this in the future. But for now, you guys can let me know all your thoughts in the comments down below as always. And I will now segue into my actual intro now. All right, welcome back everyone. As you can already tell, this is going to be a little bit different than the content I usually do on my channel. I'm going to be doing a TI10 player tier list. I'm going to be going through this list with a friend of mine. Shout out to KF5 for making this tier list. He made this whole thing on his own, so huge shout out to him. This wouldn't be possible without him. This video is going to be a little bit like more on the fun side of things because there are some players that we don't quite remember the performances from TI as it was about a month and a half ago. But we are going to put some thought into this video. And yeah, overall, should be a fun time. We're going to breeze through the list pretty quickly. At least we're hoping to. So apologies if this ends up being a pretty long video. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And we'll see how this goes. All right, starting off the list, we have Virtus.Pro, GPK, their mid laner. He had a pretty fantastic tournament. There were a few games where he just solo carried. I would have to agree. Yeah. All right, next up, we have Hanskin from Alliance. Alliance had a pretty rough tournament. They obviously thought that Hanskin and Nico Baby were probably the best of the team so far, but this isn't necessarily saying they had a good tournament all around. I kind of want to put him in C because I think the rest of Alliance was a D tier, other than him and Nico Baby.
Nico D tier.
Nico D tier. Oh yeah. We'll get to that. You have your own personal beef with Nico Baby. Next up we have Paparazzi, aka Eurus. He played carry for Elephant.
I would put him low C, high D. You know, like I don't remember this guy doing anything. Other than losing to EG.
I'll put him in D tier. I think Elephant really underperformed, especially they've underperformed the whole year. And we saw just how like different it was when he started playing mid in EU pubs and he was just crushing every game. Like this guy was not doing so hot on carry. He goes back to mid and he starts owning again. So again, this is going to be just rating players based on their performance at TI. So if they're like a superstar player now or they were before TI, doesn't matter. This is just purely based off of what we saw at TI. So next up, Yawar. Speaking of players that have pretty bad tournaments,
D tier.
This was a rough tournament for Quincy Crew. Team fight execution was probably the worst I've ever seen in pro. Like even watching like tier 2 and tier 3 teams had better team fight execution than these guys. And most of the time he wasn't even team fighting with them. Like he would be off farming as a carry would. And he would just come in and just be super underwhelming. So I think all around Quincy Crew pretty underwhelming tournament. Next up we have Frank from Thunder Predator. I'll just put him right there. Yeah. For context, for anyone curious, we're pretty much gonna put everyone from like Thunder Predator and SG Esports and Elephant in this D tier just because they really underperformed. Those aren't all the teams that we're gonna keep in mind, but if you see any of these players just getting thrown in here, just that's why. Next up, Nico Baby. I'll let you take this one.
So I had Nico in my fantasy day one, and this guy he ruined my whole fantasy from day one. I lost fantasy by the difference that this guy did to me. So D tier.
All right, can't argue with that. Super from Elephant.
S tier.
Yep, S for Super.
Super.
Yep, can't argue with that. All right, next up we have Death from Fnatic. They finished top 12. They won their best of 1 against Undying. Had a pretty decent tournament. They definitely underperformed a lot in those group stages.
I gotta agree with my man Ice and put him in D for depth tier.
You don't want to make his own tier?
No.
Okay, all right.
That's too much work.
All right, next up we got Schofield, Beast Coast.
D tier.
Yeah.
Purely because of that Nyx assassin play. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
I'll say it now so that when we get to the rest of the Beast Coast roster, a lot of them I think really did not play well at TI. I think Whisper was by far their best player. There were literally series where Whisper was just full on carrying the whole team, and so again, Beast Coast could be one of those teams that I'm kind of just throwing everyone in the D tier. And I don't think there's really any arguing the fact that they very much underperformed. Um, Next up, we have Aster XXS. They obviously caught COVID at TI, which kind of sucks. Don't know how they would have done otherwise, but notably they were struggling a lot on lands.
I could see for COVID, man.
I feel like that's gonna be your whole contribution for this video. Okay, next up we got two guys from Quincy Crew. I think we can bunch these two together. They are SVG and MSS.
Yeah.
Yeah, same reason as why you are here. I'll even put them with you are here. I'm not ranking these tiers, so it's not like far left is like high D or anything like that. We might say that like a player's high D or something like that, but in general, it's just if you're in the D tier, you're in the D tier. So we're gonna do it. Again, Quincy Crew, miserable tournament, especially in the first like 3 days of that group stage. So
Terrible.
all right, SG Esports 40R. I'm gonna put them in C.
Yeah.
I think SG Esports they only won two games in that group stage, but him and Costabile were by far the best players on that team. I thought every single time the games were at all close, or in those games that they won, it's when 40R and Costabile were popping off. So
This guy has an emoji in his name, so
that's true.
good.
That's true. All right, next up we got DM Virtus.Pro.
B tier.
Okay, got a reason, or
I
just
think-
B tier?
Well, I think VP did pretty well this TI. He didn't play as well as GPK, but he played really solid. I think he's played solid all year. Like I don't think his performance dipped in TI.
Okay, I'll have to agree with you there. Next up we have JT from Invictus Gaming. I'm thinking like low A or high B for JT.
I think A tier.
Yeah, he had a small hero pool. Again, he was very similar to Collapse in the sense that he was a very good Mars player. But Invictus Gaming finished his top four. He looked very good, playing on some other heroes as well. I don't think they would have made it that far without him, and that's why Invictus kept him this year. Next up, we have Theodicor, position 4 from SG Esports. Just gonna put him down here. Again, I was only really impressed with 40R and Costabile from them. We have Faith Beyond now from PSG.LGD.
Either low A or high B. Like
I feel like we have to put him A. Just
yeah, they
by
did go to grand finals. Like I think we forget that like before the grand finals, PSG.LGD looked unstoppable.
and in game 3 and 4 of the grand finals, they looked unstoppable too. So
Yeah, so like yeah, A tier.
all right, Toronto Tokyo. We'll waste no time. I think that's Thompson actually. So I think he's S tier.
Okay.
We'll leave him up there. Next up we have Mjz Thunder Predator. Miserable tournaments. White Album, Aster. Again, he was the one on Aster that got COVID the worst. He actually missed the first day of TI. And on the first day back, on the second day group stage, he looked really good. And I was really excited. And then it kind of fell apart. So I think White Album may have been a bit of an anchor for Aster, but it's really hard to tell. They did send him down to their B team, so I feel like they think that maybe he was the one holding them back. Where would you put him? I'm thinking either low C or high D for White Album.
I would say C for COVID, man. Like
All right.
I would say like
Here, I'll put him with his
for
teammate too.
after anyways, like sure they didn't play the best, but like COVID's crazy, man. Like it affects you like after you're recovered from it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like he was talking about on the first day when he was playing, he was like shaking while he was playing.
Yeah.
But you couldn't even tell he was playing really well on that first day back. All right, next up, Costabile, SG Esports. I'll put him right up here with 40R. Again, really impressed with him. He ends up on 4 Zoomers now. Next up, we have Nightfall, Virtus.Pro. I'll let you take this one.
I mean, so personally, I'd have him C tier, but I think because he's on Virtus.Pro and because maybe it looks like he did worse compared to the rest of his teammates. But I put him B tier. B tier. I don't know. Yeah, B
Okay.
tier.
I mean, obviously, Virtus.Pro thought that there was a weak spot in the position one, as they like voluntarily got rid of him and had to try out for a new one who they have Pure now. So, but I think having him in B is pretty reasonable. Okay, next up we have Fly. I'll let you take this one as well.
D tier. Put him at the end. I think EG had looked like a washed team at TI. They looked figured out, and that's got to be down to the strats and down to the coach.
All right, can't argue with that. Right, next up we have KJ from SG Esports. Same thing as the rest of them, I think.
Yeah.
Not the best showing for them. They were kind of a little out of their weight class. You know, SG Esports came in through those open qualifiers and playing against some of the best teams in the world, but still. Okay, next up we have Thunder Predator, MNZ. Same kind of thing. Here, I'll leave Fly at the end for you.
Of course.
Next up we have Limp. I'll take this one right off.
Yeah.
Limp, I think, was really overrated heading into TI. I have nothing personal against him. You might think so. But I think his laning mechanics are fantastic. But if he isn't able to win the game strictly off of his lane, he really struggles in that mid to late game point. And that's where Alliance really needed a very stable mid laner this TI. And throughout this past year, I think they overperformed a lot in the second tour because they had their coach in their games. So I have Alliance in D tier. I think there's a good reason why he didn't end up getting picked up in this by any teams for this tour.
Yeah.
Next up, Mipochka.
S tier.
Yeah, can't argue that. Is again, these guys were the ones that popularized Bane way back in the group stage before any other team knew that Bane was this good, and he made it look good. Obviously, TI winner too. So, and it was a TI win too, where like no one on the team looked weaker than anyone else. They all looked really, really good. So
That was a 5-man TI win.
that was. Ori, Vici Gaming, mid laner, finishes top 6 with Vici. Where would you place him?
Either it's like high B or low A. I would say B, just because Vici underwhelmed a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They only won one series on the main stage, but they couldn't. Did they win two? I thought
EG and T1.
they didn't beat EG on the main stage, did they?
Yeah, they did. Lower bracket.
Oh, okay. They lost their first series. I thought they won their first series. That's right. They lost it. My bad.
Lost against VP. Yeah.
My bad. Okay. Next up, sticking with Vici, we have PYW.
C tier. I think this guy played a lot worse than he's played in the past. That's it. Like, I feel like he's a better player than how he played at TI.
I'll have to agree with that. Saberlight, Undying, maybe saying a bit opposite for Saberlight. They did very well at TI. I, in my prediction video, predicted these guys to be at the bottom of their group, and they end up ahead of EG, which is not something I expected. They didn't do very well on the main stage. They lost their best of one, so I can't really argue to put him anywhere higher than C or maybe low C. But definitely played a lot better than a lot of these players in D tier, so I can't really have him in here. Okay, next up we have Whisper from Beast Coast. Again, was really impressed with Whisper. He would literally single-handedly carry Beast Coast in a lot of series. I'll put him in C for that reason.
Timbersaw, man.
His Timbersaw, the fact that I still remember a lot of his performances when I don't remember like pretty much any of them on Beast Coast at TI is pretty fantastic. Other than that one like 5-man vacuum stun play that they had. That's like all I remember from Beast Coast, really. Okay, next up we have Mjz Thunder Predator. Toss him in with the rest. OG Seb.
No bias. I just don't like this guy.
You can't say no bias and then say that you don't like him. It's not how it works.
No, I think compared to other tournaments, he played really bad.
That's true.
I don't think they look convincing at all. So I put in D tier. Like maybe I could see C tier, but I would say D tier just to get some more comments.
I'm surprised you didn't say C tier for Seb. But Yeah, I think overall OG did not look like the same team. Obviously, they weren't the same team as the one that won the past two TIs, but it felt like they were running the same strats very often. Like the hard carry clinks and the offlane IO, it felt like it came up a lot with them. So yeah, again, Seb a huge part of their drafting and their strategy. Next up, Artur,
E tier.
D tier.
Yeah, this guy, my heart is my favorite player, other than Ice Ice Ice. And he just disappointed me. Like he would walk into lanes and just lose games. I don't know. Just he did play well.
Yeah, it felt pretty underwhelming compared to the rest of the season for him. That's for sure. And also, yeah, so like for Arteezy here, I don't necessarily think he played as bad as some of the players in here, but like considering his standard, which is like around the A tier, like his standards is the A tier compared to how well he actually played at TI, is which is why he's in the D tier here.
Yeah, exactly.
Next up we have Saksa from OG. Um, I think he played okay. Again, not really a whole lot of players on OG that had standout performances. So it's kind of hard to rate any of them very highly. They did finish top 8, but I think they had a pretty easy opponent in Quincy Crew in that lower division, in that lower bracket.
Yeah.
I'll put him C. I think he played pretty okay, pretty decent. Definitely not as bad as some of the players in here. So,
No.
I'll let you take these next two. We have Crit and Ice Ice Ice.
I say we put them beside each other in high C tier.
I see. Okay.
I don't think EG did well enough to warrant any other players being in B tier.
I'll agree with you there.
Uh, but I think this is the strongest lane EG had. And honestly, it just came down to the drafts, I think, and the strats. So I think they played the best they could have, but it's still not that good.
I have to agree with you there. This was probably the weakest we've seen Ice 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 all year, too. So not his best tournament. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have Chris Luck from Beast Coast.
D tier, man.
Yeah. Again, I think Whisper was really the shining star on the team at this TI at least. They've struggled to be consistent this past year at lands, and that kind of continued. Okay. Next up, we have Collapse.
Yeah.
Yep. I can't believe Super's up here. He had a real good tournament, huh?
What are these guys doing in Super's category?
Yeah, for real. He literally single-handedly broke all of China. Like these guys were convinced that the tournament was rigged single-handedly because of this guy right here. So how could you not have him S tier?
Exactly.
Next up we have Dubu.
Um, honest C tier. Like, it's hard to put him. I like him, but Undying didn't do. Undying did better than expected, but like they're still out for like lower bracket best at one. So
Yeah, I'll put him with Saberlight here. I also think that like the best players on Undying were Brial and Tamado, but mainly Brial. So maybe Brial ends up in the B tier. We'll see when we get there. But um, okay. Next up we have Stinger, Beast Coast.
E tier, man.
Yeah. Which is the polar opposite from our next player here, Yatoro. I
MVP of the tournament.
yeah, I don't know how you can really like how do you pick again? This guy picked like 14 heroes in like the first 14 games in the main stage or some stupid thing like something stupid like that. Like this guy shaved his head mid TI for the Dota gods and it paid off.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have DY.
That's a put him beside his teammate.
Which one? We have PYW down here and we have Ori up here.
His Ori teammate.
All right, all right. You think you play well?
I think he was a force on fantasy points. Let me tell
Mm,
you.
that is true.
And other than that, I think he actually played pretty well.
I'll have to agree with you there. Sticking with Vici, Old 11, their offlaner, who has since left the team.
I'll put high C or low B.
Yeah, you weren't too impressed with him. I think it's kind of the same thing with some of these other players where he wasn't the standout of his team.
Like, I could be not remembering some performances, but I don't think this guy played spectacular.
Right?
I think Ori and DY play better than Old 11.
Yeah, yeah. I'll agree with you there. Okay, next up we have Emo Invictus Gaming.
Emo man, A tier.
Yeah, I was gonna say, ever since seeing him question mark EG in that first major, like this guy's been so fun to watch, and he looked really
Yeah.
good at IG. He was a big part of why they finished in top four, and he had a great tournament.
Yep.
Okay, next up we have Schwan from Fnatic. I think he was their best player at TI. They of course
Yeah.
didn't do so well. They won their best of one against Undying, but past that they kind of floundered.
Anywhere in C tier.
Yeah, yeah, I'll have to agree with you there. Okay, next up we have Kingslayer from Virtus.Pro.
Um, I I don't know. I don't remember. I remember um all of TI would get this guy and Nightfall confused. So like I guess put them beside each other.
All right, yeah, all right, cool. Do you mean like physically, like they look the same?
No, just I don't know why the Kingslayer and Nightfall in my head. Like I would never remember if the pause one was Kingslayer or Nightfall. So it's just confusing in my head.
Okay, now next up we have Vici Gaming Poyoyo.
I think he had a disappointing tournament compared to the rest of his team.
Would you put him with Old 11 as well?
Yeah, right beside.
Yeah,
I think he did play bad, but could have
yeah,
played better.
yeah. Could have been better. All right, next up for anyone curious, this is Invictus Gaming. This is Kaka because he picked so much Lion in that tournament. Um, I think he played pretty well. It was sad to see him leave the team. It obviously wasn't a kick. His contract just ended and he felt like leaving.
Yeah.
Um, again, IG had a great tournament. I think everyone on that team played pretty well. I don't think there was necessarily a player that was outshining the rest of the team or was underperforming. So, no real
Yeah.
reason to have him anywhere else.
Each year, yeah, he played pretty well.
Next up, we have Quinn from Quincy Crew.
Yep.
I'm putting him in D again. Those like we can look at maybe their main stage performance when even then it was really Lesloud that kind of carried that best of one game. Their group stage performance before that last day
Yeah.
was terrible.
Sometimes it felt like Quinn was actively trying to throw.
It did. I'll agree. All right, next up we have Mira, Team Spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah, put him up here in the super category. No tail.
Um. Honestly, it's harsh, but I would put him beside Seb. Like,
Really in the D tier.
well, I don't think OG ran. Maybe I just hate OG. I think that's what it is. I think it's I can't be unbiased. I don't know. Also, this guy he didn't cut his hair. He just he looked really bad.
Okay, all right, I'll leave that one there for you. Okay, next up we have Tamado from Undying. Again, good tournament for them. Still lost in the
Yeah.
best of one. Can't really justify putting him in the D tier. Um, and this is a case where, obviously we're putting Tamado above No Tail when No Tail finished further in the tournament. But this is where we're kind of holding Seb and No Tail to their previous results. Well, we've seen how dominant they can be,
A
and we
higher
just
standard.
we just didn't see them there. Same thing with
Like,
Artur here.
keep in mind, I love RTZ, and I put him in D tier.
Okay. Carl, T1, mid laner. T1, great tournament. I thought Carl played really well. I don't think he was the best of the cores. I think 23 Savage and Cuckoo played really, really well, but he was still up there with them. I
Yeah.
think he's at least a high B. Like somewhere around where Ori is. I think he was that good.
Yeah, I put him on a level with Ori in that tournament.
Yapsor,
A tier.
A tier. Okay, yeah, Team Secret, top three. I remember the series that they played against PSG.LGD in the group stage. game one, or I don't remember who won game one and game two, but I remember one of the games Yapsor completely carried, and then in the next game it was Jin Q that completely carried. So it was like the battle of the pause fours. Yapsor had a great tournament.
Yapsor has like been in the discussion for best pause for so long. Like, he's never faltered. Like he's just always there.
Do you
So
think because he's on Team Secret, people don't pay attention to it as much?
not like I think he continues. He has standout performances on a team like Team Secret, which just proves how good he is. You know what I mean?
That yeah.
But we'll have to see how he does with a new lane partner.
Yeah,
It was
that's
die
good.
for a long time.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Now he's got ice. Okay. Next up, we have Brial from Undying. Again, I said it earlier. I think he was their best player. I still can't justify having him in the same tier as other players like the VP squad and Ori. But if we were ranking this, ranking our tiers, I would definitely put him high C.
Best
Um,
Canadian player at the tournament.
yeah, that's for sure. All right, moving on. We have FNG. I'm just gonna go ahead and put him in the D tier. Um, yeah, miserable tournament for Alliance, and yeah. All right, Zai.
A.
A tier. Okay. All right.
I don't like based on the fact of how well Team Secret played the whole tournament. Just A tier. Like
Do you think any of the Team Secret players end up in the S tier?
um I think maybe Nisha ends up in the B tier.
Really? Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see when we get
I
there.
think yeah. I think it's I don't know. I don't like a mid. It's like a Sumail thing. They're good players. I just don't like the position they played in the
So
tournament.
so it's convenient that now that they're on the same team, they switch back, huh?
It's convenient.
Okay. Next
It's
up.
convenient to my opinion.
Next up, we have nothing to say. Great tournament for him. I don't know if I would say he was the weak point on PSG.LGD. We already have Faith Beyond here, which is putting a lot of pressure on having like Ame be that like S tier player, which I don't think is fair for PSG.LGD. They played really fucking well.
I put nothing to say S tier.
I'll agree with you.
Like minus grand finals, you're putting all of PSG.LGD S tier.
Yeah. I mean, game one of that grand finals, like they just got outdrafted. Like they had like a Ursa versus Naga Siren in game one. I think it was bad. There was no
Yeah, I
chance.
remember.
And he was I think it was mid Pango. Like he was supposed to carry that game like
I
entirely
was
on his own.
barely awake, and I was confused though at the draft.
All right, we have Ollie from Invictus Gaming, position 5. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say about that. Somnus from Elephant.
Yeah,
Let's leave him in the D tier again, just because of how well we know that he can play and how well Elephant was supposed to be. We'll just leave him there. Okay,
yeah.
next up, Tavo, SG Esports. He was their offlaner, I believe, but he wasn't one of their standout players.
He was an awful laner.
All right, we have Whitemon from T1. This guy was a maniac when it came to fantasy points.
Yeah.
This guy was he was always one of my go-tos.
Yeah.
I think he's
Yeah.
probably A tier.
I think he might him in 23.
Yeah?
Like that I think yeah.
I'm gonna be interested to see what you say when we get to Cuckoo, because Cuckoo had a few crazy plays as well. All right. We're now on to Evan's favorite player of all time, Moon Meander. Undying, pause 4.
Dying. This guy S tier because of his profile picture.
That is very here. I'll put him right next to Super. Him and Super. They had great tournaments strictly because of the profile pictures and their names.
Bro, that looks like a mug. That looks like he's on a list mugshot. Warning you that he's in the area.
All right, next up, Matamo Man.
Oh, forgot about this guy. Do I put him?
Dude, I kind of want to put him B. He had a few games where I remember one game he played like carry Venge, and sure he's playing Venge carry, but it was rough. It was rough, man.
He got carried a lot.
Yeah. but he still finished top 3. They couldn't have made it that far without him.
Yeah, that's true.
Put
I
him
think
there.
high B tier.
Yeah, we're not ranking these really, but I'll throw him there. All right, Jin Q, PSG.LGD. I'm just gonna throw him up here.
Yep.
Yeah, he
Jin Q was my player coming into this. Jin Q and PYW were my 2 4s from China. That was like, these guys are crazy. Like TI is gonna be crazy with these guys. And PYW disappointed, but Jin Q did not disappoint.
he did not. Okay. Next up, we have Raven from Fnatic.
I feel like Raven actually did pretty well.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember
But
his
the
like,
thing is that they finished 7th place in groups. They win the best of 1 against Undying, so maybe that's enough to put him in the C tier.
but take in that Raven is the 5th highest fantasy scorer per game.
That is true.
Yeah. Like,
Okay, so maybe just because we're on the fence, that might be enough to put him in here.
I'm not saying fantasy equals performance, but like, it is a measure of performance.
Yeah, I think it's just because we were on the fence about it. So, Cuckoo T1. I'm inclined to put him high B or low A.
I will let you figure this out.
I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna put him A. If you saw the plays that he was making on his Magnus, I know there was a lot of Magnus at the tournament, but
honestly, I do not remember.
Okay, well he hit like a blind like 3-man horn toss.
Okay.
At one point, and also just like the rest of the tournament, he was a big part of the team. They definitely could have made it this far without him, and I think all around he had a great tournament. Same thing for his teammate here, 23 Savage.
Yeah.
Great
I
tournament.
think that core of players is I feel like actually all of T1 just like a great core, like for the future. I feel like they're gonna be really good.
Should we move Carl up to the Oh wait, is this Carl? Sorry, I'm getting a little confused. Alright. Okay. Next up we have Leo Style, Thunder Predator.
Yep.
Sorry, man. DJ and Jabs from Fnatic. So we'll put these guys together. These guys, I remember you were really vouching for me to take DJ in my fantasy. And then it really bit me in the ass when I did take him because Fnatic immediately lost.
Okay, but the day before, this guy had like 25 fantasy points per game.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like, he was like by far number 1.
I'll put him there, and I'll put Jabs in the D tier. Jabs playing position 3 was a little strange. I'm glad. Oh wait, no, DJ was position 3. Jabs on 4. Jabs back to 5 now. Glad that's happening. I think that's how it was. Either way.
I don't remember. I remember seeing Jabs out at like playing a different position than I was used to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Aster, Lonham. Do we put him with the rest of Aster? C for COVID?
Yeah, C for COVID.
Right, we have Innocence now from PSG.LGD.
S tier.
S tier? Alright.
I think we might be a little harsh on Faith Beyond.
You think so? I agree.
Yeah.
You can't make it that far that comfortably. Like, keep in mind, they had only lost, like, what, 3 games? 2 games? Heading into that grand finals in the whole tournament? One of them being to Team Secret, and then the other one being in the first round.
They dropped a game against T1.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
Yeah, and that was just on the main stage. Yeah, so yeah, I think we were underrating Faith Beyond a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Next up we have Yang from Elephant.
D tier.
Yeah. Not gonna go too in depth about that one. Nisha, Secret. So you were talking about this one earlier.
B tier.
You think so? Right next to Matu?
Yeah.
These guys did finish top 3. You think they got? I guess Yapsor, Puppy, and Zai, I guess, are your MVPs for the TI.
Maybe I'm being harsh. I'm looking at it. I'm looking at all the players. I don't think Matu and Nisha were on the same level as performance as Yapsor, Zai, and Puppy, though. That's why I'm putting them.
Okay, so maybe we'll put them over here then, because I do remember Nisha was racking up quite a few fantasy points. Again, I bring this up because I don't remember every single performance from Nisha.
Yeah.
But I do remember having him in my fantasy quite a bit. Next up, we have Fly Fly from Invictus Gaming, playing carry, obviously. His Morphling was insane. Really liked watching him,
Yeah, A tier.
for sure. We then have Zephyr, the last member now from uh, T1 here. Do we put him with the rest of his team? Do we bring Carl up, or what do you think? Or do we put him down here in
I
B?
think I want to say B because I feel like everyone on that team, he's the least memorable. Maybe he's just like playing a sacrifice position. But I don't think Carl deserves to be A compared to the other mids that are in A.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair judgment.
Yeah,
Next up, we have S4. I'm just gonna put him right next to Limp. Same thing. He
I think
hasn't
S4
felt.
is washed.
He hasn't felt like S4 in a really long time. And
Like I think he was washed when he was on EG,
mhm.
and like you were starting to see that he was not that good, and now it's like he's just not good.
What
So
I'm
respect
curious
to the
about
man.
is if Alliance kicked him, because they kicked FNG and Limp, and then like 3 days later, S4 left. But we don't know if it's because he got kicked. It's kind of weird if he did get kicked a few days later. But
I don't think he
either
got.
way,
Probably got talked after.
yeah, that's probably a whole other discussion. All right, next up we have Borax, aka Bobica from Team Master.
Yeah.
We'll throw him in with the rest. Again, unfortunate tournament for them. We then
Borax
have
is a cool
Monet.
name.
Monet also in there as
Monet,
well.
also a cool name. Aster's
Monet
got
is a
some
cool name.
cool names on
They do. Do you prefer Borax or Bobica?
Bobica, but
Yeah.
Borax is still strong.
All right,
Ame S
Ame.
tier. Yeah,
Do we
I'd say
do we mix them in
beside
here?
Yatoro.
You think so, huh? Better than Collapse?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think like don't get me wrong, Collapse is crazy, but I think we might be overestimating Collapse purely on the grand finals performance.
Okay. Okay. That's fair. Although he did have that play against Sumail where he literally skewered him all the way into the fountain from his tier 3. And
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
but
that was
like
with Magnus like before the grand
Ame,
finals. But regardless, yeah,
Ame
it is Ame. Okay, we got Puppy next.
S tier.
Yeah. Definitely a huge part of them doing so well. And can't really say much else
He
about
does
that.
it every. He just every major, every TI.
He now has
He,
every single placement at TI2. He's finished first, second, third, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 12, and 13th to 16th. The only thing he hasn't done yet is lose in the group stage, but that's new. They only added that a few TIs ago.
yeah, so like he's 5 head. He knew exactly where he wanted to place.
All right, Abed, I'll let you take this one.
Uh, I don't know if this is a Bulba thing or this is an Abed thing, but I remember EG drafted 3 mid heroes the whole tournament. So like I don't know. I feel like a D tier man. I feel put him beside Arteezy.
Okay, yeah, I would argue maybe high C, but again, the whole potential thing. And we're coming down now to our last 6 players here, starting off with FY. Again, just the like this is probably the highest potential player that didn't perform. Like I would maybe rate this
Yeah,
guy at TI specifically above Arteezy. Like
yeah.
FY has been a TI like a monster at TI like forever.
I feel like we should have had an underwhelming category, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, a lot of this detour is a D tier is like a mix of underwhelming performances
Detour.
and terrible performance. Detour. All right, save Virtus.Pro. Again, one of the members that isn't with them this season.
Where did he go?
He's not on a team from what I can tell. He got kicked very, very soon before the new tour started.
Yeah, purely on that B tier.
Yeah, I think this looks about right. I think VP all around look pretty good. I think Nightfall probably the weakest of the team, but
Yeah,
GPK definitely the standout player. Um,
100%.
all right, next up, one of the greatest TI performers of all time, Sumail. But you said earlier you don't think so at
Oh
this TI.
no, I think he did like he played well. I think OG didn't play well because he was on that. I don't think he fit in that OG team. Like he didn't fit the first time around, and he didn't fit the second time around. So I think he like I would put Sumail B tier and his performance individually.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
there were a
having
lot of
him
games
on the
when he
team,
carried.
yeah, like I think having him on the team in that position limited OG to how they want to play.
All right. We are down now, I believe, to our last two.
Yeah,
If I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
Oh wait, no, we're missing. Oh yeah, apparently Hector was added to this list late, but I don't see Hector on here from Beast Coast. But
He would have been D
yeah,
tier.
yeah, he wouldn't have been on here. All right, so our last two, because we're missing Hector or K1, we have Thompson.
Uh, I'm gonna let you take this.
I would say high C, low B. Again, the potential. He still did have some really nice performances. He was still Thompson. It wasn't like he was playing like these standard mid lane heroes. He was still making the rotations that you always see from Thompson. But again, the whole team kind of just didn't feel like it was there. He even admitted this when he said he was going to be taking a break, that he just didn't feel like the spark was there. So
Yeah,
I got to put
that's
him
what I
there.
meant. Like Thompson and Sumail, like Thompson, like it's gonna make you tons of space, and I don't think Sumail is that. He plays too active for that. For
Mm-hmm.
having Thompson in the mid, I
Mm-hmm.
think you need a farm like a more farmer to have Thompson. Like Anna would like come out with crazy items super early with the space. I think Sumail was just trying to fight too much.
All right. Last but not least, we have Leslau from Undying. I think not Undying. Sorry, Quincy Crew. I think the only
Yeah.
player that had an actual standout performance this TI.
How come this guy has like a Malo shot compared to everyone else? It's
Well,
like
look at
I can't.
RTZ, bro. All right. This is our final list. Memes and stuff aside, pretty much all of PSG.LGD and Team Spirit in the top row.
Yeah.
Can't really argue any of that. And then the rest of the top placing teams scattered kind of everywhere. And
I'll
again,
argue with anyone in the comments.
yeah, you hear that first. Hear here first, folks, or whatever. He'll argue with you. And yeah, this is our D tier here. Again, this is kind of a mix of players that had pretty rough tournaments, i.e., a lot of the members on Quincy Crew and Thunder Predator, but also a mix of players that had very underwhelming performances in comparison to what we've seen them do before, like RTZ, like Abed, like No Tail and Seb. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thanks for KF5 for making this list. Thanks for Charles for joining me. Sorry if you don't want your name in here. I'll bleep it out.
You just bleep it out. Just don't mention anything. Just bleep it.
Okay. All right. All right. Thanks for watching, guys.